Welcome to the Arsenal Show. We are live and we have Steve back in the house. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, how you doing, Kieran? Not too bad. A little bit in the wars, but yeah. Looking forward to tonight, mate.
All right. I don't know why, because we're about to rehash over yesterday's
Yeah,
absolute
true.
atrocity. So
Yeah.
let's get to it. Jerome, we're also joined by Jerome Marks. How you doing, Jerome?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
So how are you feeling after yesterday's game?
Yeah, still gutted. Really disappointed, gutted, worried about the consequences of that game. Not just obviously dropping the points, but what it's going to do to our first 11 going forward. I think that's the most worrying thing, and that's probably the question that's on everyone's lips: is what team is Mikel Arteta going to play in the next game? And is that the one he's going to stick with, or is he just going to play that team against Brighton and then change it up the next game? It's really put the cat amongst the pigeons, that game.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just the manner of the defeat as well, isn't it? Like you can lose a game by playing well and being a bit unlucky, but we got battered in that game, definitely the first half, and that's I thought those days were sort of behind us a bit, perhaps, but maybe not. But we move on.
It was not good. Steve, what was your thoughts on the game last night? 3-0 loss. Didn't really feel like Arsenal were ever going to get back into it. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked by the scoreline. I was like what Jerome just said there. Just if anything, just shocked by the performance, because it's not what we've been used to coming to see over the last few months. It was just looking like, a different side. I mean, the Tierney came out from, for Tavares. I thought he had an absolute nightmare. From minute one, couple of mistakes he made, which probably was at fault for maybe a couple of the goals. But it was the manner of defeat. Like Jerome said, we didn't just lose the game. We got battered. I mean, I've seen Crystal Palace beat big sides before. I mean, it is a very difficult ground to go to and win games. I've seen City and Liverpool lose there, but I haven't seen them lose in that manner. So okay. We said that we would expected them to lose a game going forward. That's not surprising. We're still a young side, and losing a game is a little bit expected. But a little bit worried about with the injuries that we got in the squad of going forward for the next one.
Mm-hmm. Jerome, where do you think it was lost yesterday?
Normally, maybe we'll try and narrow it down to an area of the pitch, but it's no one. I think probably every player on that pitch played poorly, I would say. Below par. Some are a long way off of what they can play. I mean, players like, say, Odegaard yesterday, just a completely different player to what we've seen. Even the likes of Gabriel, who's normally so solid, looked off his game. Everyone, there wasn't really one area of the pitch that I can say, yeah, that's where it was lost. It was like they were up for it. We weren't up for it. We played poorly, and that combination meant that was going to be the outcome. And going back to Palace, I know they've done very well under Vieira, but before yesterday's game, they'd won 7 games in the league. It's not as if they, won loads and loads of games. That was their 8th victory against us last night, and it was just one-way traffic in that first half. The difference was massive, wasn't it? And Kieran, it was, mate, every all over the pitch. It was lost, to be honest. Not one part.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on that? That same question as you, Steve. Where do you think the game was lost? What do you think Arsenal didn't do that Palace were doing?
I thought, right from the off, Palace was, got at us, and they just started winning every single battle all over the pitch. There wasn't, whether it was, on the right with Tavares and Gabriel, you had players like Conor Gallagher and Zaha, and they was on it last night. And normally you would think, right, we're going to step up a gear, but we just never got going. We never got going at all. I mean, up front we were just toothless. There was, whether we come on into a bit later, Lacazette. We was a little bit worried about him last week, and we said, well, hopefully he'll come again against Palace, and he'll show us what he's good. I mean, that's a big worry for me, because I thought he was terrible against Palace, but he was just one of many. The midfield battle, Partey and Xhaka, who have been winning every single midfield battle recently, for me, lost that battle. You had
for everyone.
Yeah, you had Conor Gallagher, who was, winning 50-50 balls with Thomas Partey, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And that wasn't just Thomas Partey, and that was Xhaka as well, and there was loose passes again started. It was like going back another 3 months ago when we was talking about the loose passes and the no chances, and there was a couple of good performances. I mean, but there was probably one player who I probably would have given a 6 if I was doing the match ratings, and then there was a couple of 5s, and the rest were below that. So, it was awful over.
Yeah, not good day for Arsenal at all. Jerome, like, what also came out of that game as well was, like, it wasn't as if Arsenal didn't have chances. I think 2 fell to Smith Rowe, 1 fell to Odegaard, or maybe potentially 2 fell to Odegaard. Saka had an opportunity, maybe a half chance, didn't really test the goalkeeper. Beforehand, we were getting goals from them, but these are surely chances they should have been taking yesterday as well.
Yeah, they were reasonable chances. I think the Smith Rowe one, maybe he didn't have too much time to react. He didn't have a lot of time to sort of set himself, but he still should be doing better than that. It was a bit of a powder puff shot right at the keeper, wasn't it?
The Odegaard.
It was a good back pass. The Odegaard one, maybe slightly behind him, but and then we had the Nketiah one that hit the bar. Wasn't really a good chance, but a good shot. But all these opportunities came, and we were chasing the game, and you have to sort of, if you don't score those ones, then you got no chance of getting back into the game. They just came, and we were chasing it too much, and I think the game, to be honest, maybe we could have got back into it, but we wouldn't have deserved to.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't deserve to. And I suppose when you are chasing a game, you are going to have chances because you're maybe committing more men forward. You're taking more risks. And then obviously what happened is we got, I guess, caught on the counter for the penalty. So, the game was long gone by then. By the time those chances came about, unfortunately.
Steve, is there a worry that this could derail Arsenal?
I don't think that the players in the side, I think they could easily pick themselves up again for the next game. I think they can go again. I think what worries me, is what we've said for a long while is the squad. And if players start to sort of now tie off the beginning of the season, are the players that we start to see tiredness in them. And I'm beginning to see that. And we haven't got players to come on and replace them, to make us even better, or the same. I mean, it got to a point at the end where it was like Arteta went, let's go and throw the kitchen sink at Crystal Palace, and even then, when you looked at that team when we was throwing the kitchen sink, you still looked at the team on the pitch, and you thought you still wasn't confident they was going to score because it wasn't that great, and that was probably down to Lacazette not on the pitch now, and because he's not playing up to the standard that he was. Obviously, we didn't have Kearney on the pitch. obviously every now and then Smith Rowe and Odegaard are going to have off games.
Mm-hmm.
So you do look to the bench, and you need other players to come on, and they're not there, and that's my big worry, mate. I mean, we can have a bad defensive day. Gabriel, White, and Cedric can have bad days. All teams do that. But what worries me is that I'm seeing tiredness. I'm not seeing the players on the bench to come on and replace. And that's my biggest worry, mate. That's my biggest worry.
Jerome, we saw Mikel Arteta introduce one of my favourite youth players, Marcelo Flores, into the squad yesterday. But does that show the lack of depth we do have in the squad? That we're having to reach down to the youth team once again and bring in potentially an 18-year-old, or is it just that it was his time to potentially come into the team?
Nah, he's not. I don't think he's going to be ready. I mean, if Balogun's out on loan and he's played a few games in the first team, then Flores is it's too big a step. It's purely the lack of numbers, isn't it? We've seen who's been on Omari Hutchinson. He's been on the bench, hasn't he, a few times?
Yeah.
Obviously, Patino.
Zach Swanson's now on the bench regularly.
There was another guy yesterday. I can't remember his name.
Another youngster.
I think the game with an O.
Ogbuno.
Even the probably most staunchest Arsenal fans have probably never heard of him before. It's purely down to. I mean, we knew our squad was thin, and once you pick up a few injuries, then it really shows a lot. And it's been we've done so well to get to this point. You asked, like Steve before, could this derail our season? It's touch and go, really. This is now the big test, how these players and the manager bounce back from this, because this is a very hard defeat. And what's different about this one, I think, what's different about our team now going into these last few games is that normally with Arsenal teams, if they go 2-0 down, you feel like there's a chance to get back in the game. The worrying thing for us is that we went 2-0 down, and I reckon most Arsenal fans thought probably couldn't see us getting back in the game, because for us to score 2 or 3 goals, I don't think we're confident that our team is capable of doing that, especially away from home. And I'm not saying our heads drop, but I think there's just psychologically, there's just something in our heads, I think, whereby we know that we're not like the most prolific scoring, not the most prolific of teams in terms of scoring goals. And that's a bit of a worry if we do go 1 or 2 goals down in any of the next games, that psychologically we just think, right, we're in a mess here. And that's a little bit worrying, I guess.
Steve, should Martinelli have started over Smith Rowe?
Well, looking in hindsight, yes, because I think although Martinelli didn't do much when he came on, you did see that he was a bit lively. He was he did seem that he felt like he could do something. Smith Rowe, I don't know, he just didn't. He didn't. Mate, whether he's still trying to get back to fitness, get back to match fixtures, I'm not sure. I mean, that we've already said just now, the shot that he had was, I mean, God, you know what I mean? Jerome took the words out of my mouth. It was powder puff, but I felt Martinelli should have started in hindsight. But that's what they do, isn't it, Arsenal? If a player's been playing and you ain't been losing games, then that player should stay in. So there's always that way of looking at it. But I'm pretty sure next time, I think Smith Rowe will find himself probably on the bench, and Martinelli started, because he does cause problems. He does run at players, and we didn't have that. And there was a lot of times Saka was coming over to that left, and I know he can play on that left, but he don't look as dangerous on that side, and he does the other side to me.
Yeah, he's got 2 options. If he's playing on the right, he can cross with his right, and he can shoot with his left.
Exactly.
When he's playing on his left, he ain't got the shot. He ain't got the power. He can float one in on his right for a cross, but he can't. He doesn't shoot.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's definitely not say he's not the same player. So, he can certainly play with that side. But yeah, no, I think we should have started Martinelli. In hindsight, I would say more than anything. But I think main thing what really showed that to me was how much we missed Thomas Partey when he don't have a good game, because he has been probably our best player over the last couple of months, and he was, he wasn't a quarter of that, the weekend Monday.
Yeah, no,
but
he wasn't.
But yeah, he should have started probably in hindsight.
Jerome, what is it that Martinelli's may have brought into the game over Smith Rowe? Because what we can't forget is Smith Rowe has been exceptional over the last 18 months. He's our top goal scorer, joint top goal scorer this season, and he's missed a lot of games as well still. But it's just more preference or style of play. But what is it that Martinelli may have brought over Smith Rowe yesterday?
So he's a different type of threat for defenders because of his pace and his directness. But I'm at the stage now where I think sort of rip up the script, and I'd play both of them.
Yeah, but how would you play that?
Try and get them. Whether that means dropping Lacazette.
Okay.
For me, what killed me yesterday was watching the game, watching Lacazette, and thinking that Lacazette's on the pitch and Martinelli isn't. For me, that is. I know it's a totally different player and he brings different things to the team, but knowing what Martinelli can do and seeing that he's not on the pitch and Lacazette is, it was just like it was a killer for me, to be honest. And if we are a team that are maybe struggling for goals and our centre forward isn't scoring, then maybe we need to look elsewhere, perhaps. And yeah, I'd have loved to have seen both of them play. It's a shame that they don't really play a lot together. It's either sort of one or the other. And I think we saw a little bit of interplay between the two of them at some points in the second half. Mm-hmm. And I think they can cause damage to defences. I think these centre backs now that play against Arsenal, not only are they having probably their easiest game they've had. Like for me, what it is these centre backs, like, not only is Lacazette like quiet, but you don't even see the centre backs on the screen. It's like they're not even playing. Like, how often did that the guy from on loan at Chelsea? Is it?
I didn't even know he was playing until he put in that decent challenge.
No,
genuinely didn't even know he was playing.
These centre backs aren't involved in the game because our centre forward isn't really going anywhere near them. Yeah. So it's like they've got a day off. It's I don't know what he's going to do with Martinelli and Smith Rowe in the next game, but I think you got to put both of them on the pitch somehow.
Yeah, I think he's got to bring that Lacazette.
Steve, how bad was Lacazette? And will, if he does get another opportunity to play and he plays that bad, do you think it will force the manager's hand, or do you think it will stick by him?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was bad. I mean, I made again another sort of specific look at him to see how he would do in this game, because he was so awful the game before, and but he was just as bad, and he was doing the old falling over again and just trying to get free kicks or giving free kicks away himself, and his shots, he wasn't getting into positions. Look, he's a centre forward, and and he wasn't getting in enough positions for me. I'll be amazed if he's playing the next game. I think it's time now. There ain't many games left. There's 7 games left. We've got to be able to sort of start scoring goals. And you asked Jerome, but what has Martinelli got? And Martinelli's got everything that we want Lacazette to have. So for me, that just tells you that it's time for Lacazette to sit down, and he's done fantastically well, over the last few games. But, we need someone who's quick. We need someone who's fast. We need someone who's confident with the back of the net. And even though he didn't do a lot on Monday, Martinelli, he still looked lively. He still looked able. You still could expect that we might be able to nick one from him. And Lacazette, that was just non-existent. And no, I mean, how would you play it? I guess you would play. What would you do? Do you play Smith Rowe as a false nine? Do you put Martinelli back on that left? Because we've seen him so good on the left. And do you play Smith Rowe in that Lacazette position? Saka, we need to keep out on the right hand side, and that's all we've got really. And that he hasn't got a lot of choice. He hasn't got a lot of fault really. It's not like Arteta's going to go home after the game and think, right, what can I do the next game? It's either this or this. Which tells you again, like we said at the beginning of the show, our squad is so threadbare. But I think it's time for Lacazette to sit down and for, like Jerome said, to see them both start.
Yeah, I think Lacazette can still have an impact. Like I think he'd be a very good sub to bring on. I think in that situation, like when he came on against Palace, when he was hungry, you could see that he wanted it. I think there are certain instances where Lacazette would be okay, but to start games with Martinelli on the bench or Smith Rowe on the bench instead of Lacazette, it just seems a bit of a waste for me.
Yeah, it's something does need to change because he's had two absolute stinkers recently, and it puts more pressure on the defence. I mean, if you've got a striker up front, which is a worry for their defenders, that's causing trouble, that might get an early goal, then that alleviates a lot of pressure off the defence. And I think now, when we're in the business end of the season, when we need to really start putting points on the board, when the pressure's put on us because we're in that leading position and the press and people are talking about us as favourites, like these youngsters, they hear that. So what better to start a game with an early lead or to get a goal just before half time or something like that, just to take that pressure off of our young defenders. But we're just not getting that at the moment. One player who played yesterday, who's been getting pelters from last night due to the injury of Kieran Tierney, is Nuno Tavares. Kieran Tierney's out for the rest of the season. And some people saying that they don't want to see Tavares in at left back. Steve, I'll go to you first. Do you think it's a bit harsh to judge Tavares on this game? And I think the last game he played against was Nottingham Forest, and he got subbed after 30-something minutes as well. Harsh at the minute. Because we've all seen what he is capable of. He looked very, very nervous last night. Very, very nervous. And when when Xhaka went left back, he was a better left back. That sort of told you something. But I'm not going to take that as, oh no, Granny Xhaka's a better left back and he should be playing left back now. I still give Nuno Tavares, another go. I've still got Easter quality. He just needs some more confidence. He just needs to rein some things in, but it is worrying. It's one of them where you think about, who would you put there at left back? Who is there to go at left back? And we're going back to the same old thing again with the squad. And we're thinking about, the only two that come to mind is your right-sided attacking player and your attacking centre midfield player to go as left back. That's going to cause us problems going forward. And really, you shouldn't expect to get Champions League, with that type of squad going there. But I think it's unfair. I think I'd give him another, just get behind him. It's one game. We've had a blip. You go 1-0 down at Crystal Palace. It's probably one of the worst grounds that you can go 1-0 down to. It's one of the most hostile, stadiums that there is in the Premierships. And we got caught early and we wasn't able to get back. And we had a bad day. So I'm not going to get on Nuno Tavares' back too much. He's young, he's strong. I've seen him play very well. Let's get him back in there in the next game.
And because it wasn't too long ago that we was talking about him being, possibly being our first choice right back in time to come. He was looking that good. So to turn around, and I've seen people say, "Oh, he's useless. He's sell him. He's rubbish." No, you can't do that. Let's get behind the boy. He's young. He's in a new league, and you start doing that. We still want to get to fourth, but no, it's terrible about Kieran Tierney. But let's get behind Nuno, and let's not hear any more about giving him too much stick. Let's get behind him.
Yeah, Jerome. Nuno Tavares didn't have a good game. Was it just match sharpness, or is he not up for the job?
God, I think a lot of it's confidence. It's unbelievable. It's a bit like Pepe, really. How the quality that we've seen from Tavares in terms of how good he's been, and right at the other end of the spectrum in terms of how bad he's been. It's such a big range. Mm-hmm. It's very rare that you see a player perform like so poorly and so well. It's really hard to work out. And like Steve said, we've seen really good signs from him early on. And as he said, sorry to repeat what Steve said, but there were people making a case for him to be starting ahead of Tierney. And I think what maybe this has shown us perhaps is that Tierney is he's not all the bells and whistles, all the flicks and tricks, Tierney. But what he offers this team is a lot of consistency in his performances. And he's never, ever going to sort of not let you down. I'm not saying Tavares let us down, but he doesn't really make these big glaring errors, Tierney.
Barmendi kind of plays a 6, doesn't he?
Yeah. And unfortunately, Tavares at the moment, being low on confidence, has got those errors in him. I think the manager's got to stick with him. Otherwise, his confidence is just going to fall to pieces. And if you're looking for a game to start, Brighton at home is not a bad one. So I'd stick with him. To be fair, this is for me where the manager earns his money, like building confidence in players. Like either the manager has to help with that, other players, his teammates. Players shouldn't really be low on confidence for me. But I know maybe that's easier said than done. But to be taken off at half time in one game and 30 odd minutes in the previous one, that's got to be some sort of record.
Yeah, I think Mick Arteta came out last night and said that the Tavares half time substitution was a tactical one. And to be fair to him, he did go free at the back. It wasn't as if he took off Tavares and he stuck Jack.
You know what? It might have been tactical, but if he was playing better, I don't think he'd have taken him off.
Yeah. Gabriel didn't help him out too much, did he? As well, he wasn't. Gabriel last few games dropped a bit. A couple of times.
Tavares last night, I could see it within about 2 or 3 minutes. He got the ball and he ran down the wing. He did his typical Tavares thing, but then he got the ball back, and the ball, there was no one around him, and he just couldn't get it out of his feet. And I was like, oh no. And I just knew it was going to be one of them days for Tavares because he's not played. He's not played. And that's the thing you got where we're not in any other competitions. We're at the Cup. The Carabao Cup is an early cup anyway. So although we did do well, which people seem to forget, we got to a semi-final win, it was still that cup finishes just after Christmas. So that's done. We was at the FA Cup very early. So we're not in Europe. So we've got none of our squad players get game time. So it's the first 11, and then you got their subs, and that's it. How often do you sub a left back? You don't sub a centre back. No, very rarely. Holding gets on when they take off a forward player and bring Holding on.
You know what? I know he hasn't obviously played many games, but there's loads of players I'm sure that will come into teams after not having played in a long time and won't perform as badly as that. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if he's come into the team and he's playing all right. You don't really notice him. He's been proper poor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't. I'm sure we play teams when someone's got a suspension and a player will come in and they'll be all right. They won't really look out of place. They won't get subbed off at half time. Like,
yeah, but I'm
fall.
sure there are teams that when their players do come in and we just think, oh, this team's awful, and it's probably because that player's not played in 6 months. But we just don't notice it, and we're like, no, we're the nuts. We are. No, that's nothing to do with your player not playing. That we are the nuts.
Would you stick with him, Kieran?
I'd stick with him. I'd stick with him. Yeah, I'd stick with him. I don't like towards the end of his time when he was playing at the start of the season. For me, it was getting to a point where I'm like, we need to go back to Tierney because it felt like he once we got to a certain level of team, he's getting found out. So he needs more game time. He needs nurturing in. This is not the time to be playing him over Tierney, and it felt like that when he came back in again. I'm seeing that again. I do think we've got a good player in there. I think he's got a lot of potential still, but I think he's very raw and he needs game time. Like he hasn't really played that many games this season. Yes, he played at the start of the season for covering for Tierney, but that's it. Like literally, that's it, and that is all he's had in the Premier League. I'd stick with him. As you said, we've got Brighton next. We've got Southampton after that. They're 2 games where the teams are quite open, like more so Southampton than Brighton, but they're Crystal Palace is a tough team. Like they are. Just off the top of my head, the record between Arsenal and Crystal Palace is very much like that. It's like they win, we win, they win, we win, draw. It's I've not looked, but it feels like that. It's a tough ground to go to. It's horrible. The atmosphere is rough, they fed off of that atmosphere. And Crystal Palace, for all we were poor, Crystal Palace were quality last night.
Good,
so many performances that Conor Gallagher was exceptional last night. For all that, I say that I didn't want Wilfred Zaha at Arsenal. I thought he was quality last night. I thought he had
bullied Cedric, didn't he?
Yeah, and although Cedric was one of our better players, to be fair to him,
it was actually,
which it says a lot about our performance last night. Wilfred Zaha was quality. Their midfield was quality. Their Mitchell was quality. Mateta was quality up top, and I think they could have stuck Christian Benteke up top, and I still think he would have done us over as well because we just can't handle strikers like that. We can't, and when a team knows that they can get into us like that, we can't handle them, and that's a problem. That's something we need to worry about. I will quickly go into the comment section. Good to see you, Stephen. Hi, guys. If I'm honest, I expected us to get beat, but not like that. But I thought the result was coming. Yeah, I know what you mean. Crystal, I wasn't of the mindset that I think we'd get like an easy win or a win yesterday. I thought it might be a draw, if I'm honest. But I did not expect that performance. I really didn't. I was hoping for, I think it's going to be a draw, but I'm hoping for a little sneak 1-0 win or a 2-1er. And it was not even close. It was not even close. Stephen Dykes.
They should have beat us at the Emirates, to be fair, shouldn't they? So
yeah, it was. Yeah, last minute as well. Stephen Dykes, Crystal Palace fan. I know why you're in here, mate. Lack of characters and leaders. That's what you miss with Tierney gone. If you look around, you want a captain to inspire, not one with his head down, looking disinterested. I don't know whether Lacazette was disinterested. I just think he knew he was having a stinker. I knew he didn't want none of it. And I think that's the problem when we've only got one forward. When he's having a stinker and it's Lacazette, one, he don't want to get in the box because he don't want to miss. And two, he kind of just wants to run around and make himself look like he's busy. And I've not really got much time for that. I've said it before. I don't really want to keep on going on about Lacazette, but This is what we've got to deal with right now. Another player who was injured, but we don't know to the extent of it, was Thomas Partey. Steve, I know he was poor last night, but how big a loss would Thomas Partey be for the rest of the remaining games this season? We're praying that he's back.
Oh, absolutely enormous. There's probably one player you would not want to lose at this point of the season. It would be Thomas Partey. I don't know how serious, the injury is, but it would absolutely be massive if we lost. I mean, I've already said, like, over the last couple of months now, for me, he's been Arsenal's best player. We've started to see the Thomas Partey that we wanted when we used to see him play at Madrid. It took him long enough to get into the swing, but finally over the last few months he has, and he's been one of probably, if not the best midfield players, not only at Arsenal but also in the Premiership. So to absolutely lose him is absolutely enormous. And to think, if you're going to lose players like Partey, if you're going to lose players like Tierney as well, it really worries me, and it don't bode well, for going on for the future, because when you're bringing in the Congas and Tavares, because we haven't got no choice, we're going to suffer. But what, I don't know if he started the game with an injury, because he just didn't look right from the beginning, did he?
I think he did. I watched because in the last game, because I was worried about him in the last game, as it gets Watford, he pulled up with like 5-10 minutes to go, and he was holding his quad, and I was like, oh no, don't tell me.
Yeah.
But it was international break, and he went away on international break, and he was fine, and he carried on playing the rest of that game, to be fair. So when I saw that he was injured there, I was like, no, not good.
He pulls the strings. He pulls the strings now for Arsenal over the past few months. He's the guy that we talk about. Recently we've been talking about having that fear factor of that midfield, and we finally got it. Xhaka and Partey had this thing going, and midfield, the other team's midfield's opponents, they just didn't want to know. So I find it very hard for just for Partey just to drop off like that without him not having an injury here from the beginning. But I just hope it hasn't made him even worse. And if it has made him worse, and that's going to be him out, and but massive, just enormous loss, enormous loss.
Yeah, definitely. Jerome, do you feel like there's any part that Partey needs to play in this? Know when he's injured, when he needs to come off, or how do you think this should be played?
Oh, it's so hard. I don't know. Is the honest answer?
He's been known for wanting to come back early. I think it was the Tottenham game last season when he first came in. He was injured. Told the manager that he wants to play. Manager let him play. He had a stinker. Came back from African Nations Cup against Liverpool. Tells the manager he wants to play. Gets sent off.
Yeah.
Is it time for the manager to just listen to his own instinct?
Well, really, the manager should be the manager should be the one making the decision. He's in charge of the team.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't blame a player for wanting to play, can you? And I don't know really, but in terms of how much of a loss he'll be, he's irreplaceable for Arsenal. It's probably him and Saka. If you were to lose, pick two players that you wouldn't want to lose, it'd probably be them two, maybe. Also, what's a worry is you saw he just sort of stopped running, didn't you? And when it's that,
and he couldn't run.
When it's that type of injury, that's not normally like a quick one. That's normally quite medium to long term. So that is super worrying, and we need to know what's going on. We want that news, don't we? See what's happened to him.
Don't you feel like whoever gets injured out of our 11, he feels irreplaceable, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Straight away, you think, Ramsdale's in, Odegaard's in, what are we going to do? Oh, Saka's in, Xhaka's doing, he's going to go in with Thingy, Partey's injured. Oh, Martinelli's injured. What we got? Everyone, you're like, oh my God, because there's no one there. There's no one to come on and say, oh, yeah, it don't matter now. He can take his place. Don't worry about it. because it goes back to the squad again.
Yeah. You know what? Just if they were to qualify for the Champions League, Arsenal, in terms of the squad next year, like they would need to sign a lot of players because it's not only the Champions League. You got to compete in the league and the Champions League, and like if we're worrying now about our squad and we get into the Champions League next season, like they got to sign.
How many players they're going to have to bring in?
I think 5 or 6.
Yeah,
easy.
They would have to. Easy.
Two or three ain't going to cut it because you're going to have players leaving as well.
Yeah,
you're going to have players in this squad that are leaving.
El Nene, who else?
I think the easiest way to
they've got a goalie. I think
the easiest way to do it is to work out which ones that you don't need.
Stay.
Yeah, so if you've got Ramsdale, you think, if you've got Leno, you need Leno. Cedric's okay because if Tommy Ash's got Cedric, so then you look other places. What happens if Saka gets injured? So okay, we need another right-sided player. What happens if Partey gets injured? Right, okay, that's another midfield player we need. You know, people are saying, is Tavares good enough? Well, we don't know. Okay, we're all right for the left. We've got Martinelli. But you're probably right. It's about 5 or 6.
What was it? Tavares had about 5 games, done really well, linked with Man City. Everyone's like, should have sold him.
Oh, brilliant.
Should have sold him. No. I think there's a player in there, definitely. I think he's just short of confidence.
He's had 2 bad games, hasn't he? He's had
the first one.
Palace.
Yeah, and the first one, it's probably started getting into his own head was against Liverpool, and I mean that's not of all teams to to have your first bad game against Liverpool. I mean, it's not. It could be worse.
He needs a good night out. He needs a good night out in the West End.
That's what he needs. He needs a good night out with Ray Parlour, don't he? Oh boy, God, get the Rob Pele out.
Yeah.
Before we go on. Everyone's been doing a little bit of player profiles. One player that Arsenal have been linked with is Cody Gakpo, the PSV and Holland international. One of former PSG player, what's his name? Kenneth Perez believes that Gakpo would be a quality signing for Arsenal and would thrive under the guidance of Mikel Arteta. He went on to say Arsenal would be a really good club for him. He said on ESPN, this is, of course, no longer the Arsenal of the past. They are between 5th and 10th. They were between 5th and 10th place. They're still not quite there, but you can't look at the league standings of last year where they finished 10th. They've had a good year and they should finish 4th. He says will. But we will see. I couldn't say it. I couldn't say it. It's something inside me that wouldn't allow me to say will. Could. Jerome, very different type of winger. This Gakpo. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's not just looking at him, just even without watching him play, just looking at him, the physical specimen of him. He's very tall for a winger. Yeah. He's I think 6'2". And when you look at him,
positions as well.
Yeah, you look at him, you think, oh, what's that striker doing on the wing? It's one of those, I think. But yeah, another one of these very highly rated youngsters. He's 22, but he's been in the PSV side for a good few years now, having a great season, both goals and assists. He's a little bit like a mix between. So you got, that Alexander Isak, the centre forward.
I knew he was going to say that. He's very rangy and leggy.
But then at the same time, he's got a few he's not as skillful maybe as like Zaha, but Zaha's quite a tall, upright winger, and maybe a mix of those two, perhaps. But an incredibly powerful shot he's got on him. Like I said, scored a lot of goals and assists. Last season, he only got a few assists. I think he's got about 13 this season. Mm-hmm. He's got into the Dutch national team. The big question with this guy is his position, because if Arsenal want to sign a centre forward, this guy, maybe he could play there in the future, but that's not where he spent the most of his time. It's normally been out on the wings. Mm-hmm. But he's got a lot of the attributes that maybe Wenger saw in someone like Henry, where he's got the speed, he can go past players, but he's also very strong as well. So he's got a few of those attributes, perhaps, but he just hasn't really spent a lot of time being a centre forward.
You think he could be like a experiment, a project?
Yeah,
start off on the wing, move him up front.
Yeah, look, I guess no one's a dead cert, but it'd properly be having to maybe do a lot of coaching with him to make him that centre forward if Arsenal were to go ahead and sign this player. But yeah, lots of great attributes. Is skillful, burst past players, knows where the goal is, and sort of who you need as well. Some guys think this is next thing. Some of these goalies aren't that great. Some of the defenders he's playing against aren't that great. But I quite like the look of him. But as a centre forward, sort of untested, really, I guess.
Yeah. Look,
in that position,
any league where they're not playing in the Premier League, people will always question the level of quality around them. Even which is astonishing. Look, I know that Chelsea won the Champions League, but the last few clubs to win the Champions League or the Europa League have been either in Germany or Spain or whatnot, and it's like you've had Dutch teams in the semi-finals and of both competitions. So yeah, look, we have to find these players somewhere, and every league bar the Premier League is a farmers' league apparently. So yeah. He looks good. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Another player who's currently on loan, but an Arsenal player, is William Saliba, Steve. In an interview the other day, he said in L'Equipe, he said, "I can't be happy on Arsenal's bench. I want to play as a starter. Afterwards, if I enter the rotation as a substitute, it's not like being in the under-23s and never being in the squad." Some have read into that one way, some have read into it another way. What have you read into that, Steve?
Yeah, I read into it a little bit that he wants to stay at Marseille, and the noises that are coming out that I'm hearing is that that's true. He seems he doesn't want to come back to Arsenal, and he doesn't want to sit on the bench. And being a selfish Arsenal fan, I want him to come back. Being a fan, I can see where he's coming from. Probably, if I was a footballer, he's doing very well in Marseille. He's smashing it in Marseille. He's enjoying his football out there. So, looking at it from a non-Arsenal hat, to come back and then to sit on the bench to literally fight your way with Holding to get replace White and Gabriel, I think it's probably a little bit hard for him. But I'm worried, putting the Arsenal hat back on again. I'm worried that he feels a lot happier at Marseille, and I think personally it's been going on a long while now. I think he's a good player. I think if we can get an half decent profit for him, I would take it begrudgingly, because
but who's going to pay more than 25 mil for him?
Well, this is it. From a selfish Arsenal fan point of view, I want him to come back and fight for his place. But from the noises I'm hearing and from his quotes that he's saying, that just does not seem that what's going to happen or what he wants to do. So the next best thing is to get as much money as you can for him, which is sad. But as I say, from a footballer's point of view, we've all played football. If we're all enjoying our football somewhere, we come back and we sit on the bench. It's not great, is it? So if he hasn't got the love for Arsenal, like we always want our players to do, we want someone to put on the Arsenal shirt. We want it to mean something to them. Like Odegaard, for instance, it meant something to him. And his place wasn't, guaranteed when he came. It don't seem that Saliba looks at it in the same light as that. So I can only see one sort of outcome, sadly, and that we may have to accept some good money and sell him.
Jerome, he went on to say they're in contact with my agent. And he said they send me messages, they watch my games, they tell me I need to carry on like this. I haven't played a lot with the Gunners. The manager made his choice. That's life. Left on loan, I'm playing a lot of matches. Thanks to my performance, I've become a full international. What have you read into that?
I think probably if it was up to him, he'd probably stay somewhere where he was sort of guaranteed to start. And honestly, this has got to be one of the strangest ever situations, because whenever do we discuss a player about either selling them that we've never seen play for us? It is just so strange. Like normally we can all have a chat and say, like, we can discuss the player, his strengths.
Mate, this is big boy club. Like. This is Chelsea and Man City territory. Like we've been crying out for this.
It's so hard to put together like a good argument, because none of us have seen him play for Arsenal. So it's not as if we can say, look, he don't look that great, so let's try and get a profit from him. Like, he might be unbelievable, but we don't know. But by the sound of it, the way he was speaking or what was quoted didn't seem didn't sound too positive in terms of coming back to Arsenal and playing. He didn't like say, I suppose it's hard because he's a Marseille player at the moment, but I want to come back and fight for my place. He wasn't talking about that at all.
Yeah.
Also, he's got into the French squad playing for Marseille, and maybe now he's thinking, if I go back to Arsenal and I'm on the bench, like with the World Cup coming up as well.
Oh yeah.
Like that could be the final sort of nail in the coffin in terms of staying at Arsenal. But yeah, like you said as well, like he cost close to 30 million, I think. Who's going to pay that money for him? I don't think Marseille can afford that. You're only talking about a few clubs, probably.
They can't afford it, which is why they've not really been in the conversation. Which is why I just feel like there's a lot of interviews that keep on asking the kid the same question. Wouldn't be surprised if Marseille were involved in that. But no, I'm reading to it differently. I think he's just been very honest. He said it how he feels it is. He doesn't want to come back and sit on the bench. He doesn't want to come back and points out the fact that he was in the under 23s and wasn't given a chance. But he does say, if I am back on the bench and in rotation, it's not like being in the under 23s.
Yeah.
So for me, he said there, being in rotation, fighting for my spot against these two, it's not like sitting in the under 23s and not even having an opportunity, because you can't be seen. You're not competition for them two if you're playing in the under 23s. They're not taking you seriously as competition. That someone's going to come into the under 23s and be straight into the first team. No way, no chance.
I think
Saliba,
as well. I think just quickly. I think there is a difference as well between Arsenal and Marseille, isn't there, as a footballer?
Yeah. And I don't think like, yes, he has a chance, he has a choice, but on the flip side, he doesn't. He's still got 2 years once he comes back. And Arsenal could quite easily just go, nah, mate, you're playing, you're here, and you're gonna, and then it's that opportunity to see in that season that he gets game time, and hopefully it's enough game time for him to give him an extension or him to want to sign a new contract. Because I think that even with a year left, if there was enough people after him, I don't think you'd get too much off of the money that you paid for him in the first place. Because if he's that meant to be that much of an exceptional talent, then people will pay the money for him. If you're talking about Real Madrid are sniffing around him and all these other clubs are meant to be sniffing around him, then you can pay the money for him. I've seen many clubs hold tight and say, look, if you want this player, even with a year left, you're going to have to pay for the tea for him. Like, Arsenal just need to be stern there. I think they need to let William Saliba know that he's an Arsenal player and you're coming back to play for Arsenal. Simple as. And I do, with regards to what you were saying there about the fact that he's with Marseille, I do think he's probably got that in the back of his mind when he is making these comments as well, because he's got to go back there. Marseille ain't the club that you go and start talking about another club. Like, if you're at Marseille, you're at Marseille. Them fans will let you know very quickly if they're not happy with the comments that came out about you loving another club and you wanting to go back. I'm sure they'd be telling you to go back now. Like, these some of these clubs that you need to be careful what you say. I think over the last season he's held himself very well. I think he's been very, very tactful in what he said, whether it's about going back to Arsenal or whether it's about staying at Marseille. There's been no definitive answer either way. He's still left everyone guessing, which tells me he's played the game as well as he can without upsetting too many people. Because remember, he probably does want to come back to Arsenal. If he had the option to say, okay, you're coming back to Arsenal, you're going to be a first team starter, there's no doubt in my mind that he would come back. There is no fault in my mind that he would be thinking, no, do you know what? I want to stay at Marseille, even if you offer me a first team spot. Because as you said, Steve, there's a big difference between Marseille and Arsenal, and he will know that. He will know that even just by being in the under 23s. Am I worried about William Saliba? Yeah, of course, there's a little bit of a worry for me because Arsenal at any point could just turn around and go, do you know what? We'll just take the money because I think they've got that in them. But I'm not too worried about the comments that I'm hearing from William Saliba because I see it in a different light to what other people may see it.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
All right. Let's quickly chat about the Brighton game before we go. We've got 5 minutes left. Steve, Brighton on Saturday, big game, must win. There's no two ways about it. I was saying all three of these are a must win. We've lost our first one. Brighton must win, surely.
Must win. We will win. I'll tell you, we'll go out there. We'll put this behind us, and Tavares will have the game of his life. Partey will have his miraculous recovery. And Lacazette will turn his cane overnight. So, but seriously,
we'll take 2 out of 3 there, Steve.
Yeah. But seriously, it's a massive game. I've been in quite a few Brighton games recently over the last few seasons, and they will give us an hard game there. I was at the game where we had to beat them to get into the Champions League, and we ended up drawing them 1-1. Where we give away a penalty. But Brighton, they're not the team that they was at the beginning of the season. They're not scoring. They're not scoring goals. They've not really got a goal scorer. They're letting goals in, and they're very, very beatable. And I think we'll go out there. I think we'll put this behind us. We seem to do this before. Every time that we've had a defeat or a bad game, we have gone out there and we've had that test, if you like, to play our next game, and we've gone out and we've played well and we've won the game. And I think we've got the players who can do that with your Sakas and your Smith Rowes and your Odegaards and your Martinellis. I agree with Jerome. I hope Martinelli plays, because I think we just got to take the game to him at the Emirates, and we can't all be messing around like we played Burnley or struggled against Crystal Palace. We just got to go out there, go full throttle, and I think we'll win. I think we'll win well, and we'll be back on back on the road again. As I say, it was just a slip up on Monday night, and I'm quite confident that we'll beat Brighton.
Yeah, Jerome, Brighton, bar what? Norwich, Burnley, they've got the worst form in the league at the moment. And then Southampton are followed by that. So two big games, 2 winnable games. But first and foremost, Brighton on the weekend only scored 26 goals this season. It feels like the majority of those goals were scored at the start of the season as well. They've massively fallen off a cliff, haven't they?
Yeah. Hopefully they'll be on the proverbial beach. Brighton
bashing against the rocks as the tide comes in.
Yeah. This is definitely a must win. And the end of the Palace game, despite that loss, the fans were incredible again. And I'm sure the Emirates on Saturday, 3:00, I'm sure the fans will get behind the team. That sort of goes without saying now, doesn't it? Like, the fans have been fantastic. So hopefully they'll lift the team a bit. Hopefully Arteta will work with them this week, get their confidence back, and play some good attacking football. And get a very much needed victory. But yeah, it's definitely a must win. You can't drop points in this game.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, the fans have been brilliant. I think it's pretty much only the head cases on Twitter that lose the plot as soon as Arsenal win, or the ones that come out the gutter that have been hiding away for the last. Like, you must not enjoy watching Arsenal because you hide away. They're hiding away, saying nothing. Like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, see, I told you, Mikel Arteta. It's like, what? Where have you been? I've been hibernating. Yeah, you've been hibernating.
These people are actually pleased that Arsenal lose, or pleased. They are. It is actually weird. True. They are. They are pleased. Strange people.
Very, very weird. All right, that is all we have time for. We've got Steve and Stephen, the two Stevens, the two Ronnies in the comment section. Thank you for joining us tonight. Stephen, you best be pressing subscribe there, mate. Otherwise, I'm coming after you. Who else have we got in there? All right. Yes. Make sure you press that like and subscribe. If you are watching on Twitter, make sure you come over to KS1 TV next time and press that subscribe button or press the link in the comment section. Thank you for joining us tonight, Steve.
Cheers, mate. Pleasure. Thank you.
All right, and thank you for joining us tonight, Jerome.
Yeah, of course. Cheers.
All right. Arsenal, we know it was only a minor blip. We know you're going to be back against Brighton. Come on, the Arsenal. Peace out. Stay safe and wash your hands.